So let's get into fan art before I have to cover about Walsh. I just don't like the guy, so I want to do anything besides cover about Walsh. But here we have Rena, also known as a villain, said, I made the human version too now. Posing this was a bitch in studio because the skirt was built in so many segments and the hoodie, shoulder pad things kept hindering arm articulation. Yes, I mostly recolored the slime model, but both have knees and are made to be posed. Fair enough, but it does still look fantastic, and now I need a Lego version of me. An actual one. Loki says, I've never seen this setup before, but I like it. This is an old studio setup of mine that I haven't used in a very long time, but I wanted to give it a shot again. Yarakoro made it ages ago. That said, as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. That said, let's go ahead and cover Matt Walsh. What is he talking about today? Apparently, he thinks that Gen Z is failing at work, and he asked the question, is it their fault? Now, he's a master at asking questions like, what is a woman, and am I a racist? He never really figures out what a woman is, and he is definitely racist, but still, he does at least ask some questions sometimes. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he has to say on Gen Z's work ethic.
Daily cancellation, we turn to a new study that reveals something that will surprise no one. The New York Post reports, quote, Gen Z employees are entitled, too easily offended, lazy, and generally unprepared for the workplace, according to their new bosses. The dismal assessment of workers born between 1996 and 2010 comes in a poll of 966 business leaders across the country taken last month by the online education magazine Intelligent.com. Survey found...
Hold on. Question. Between... Till 2010... If you are born in 2010, it's 2024 now. Don't tell me we're putting 14-year-olds to work. That's kind of gross. Anyway.
Around 75% of execs felt most of the recent college grads they hired were unsuccessful. 60% said at least some of them had to be fired. The supervisors, who ranged from C-suite execs and business owners to senior and human resource managers at companies with more than 10 employees, said that they'll refrain from hiring Gen Z workers in the coming year. Quote, with Gen Z, they've got a ton of access to information, a lot of different content, news sources, and influences, said Hugh Wynn, Chief Education and Career Development Advisor for Intelligent and a former Fortune 500 hiring manager. So when they go into a company that has more traditional norms, you get a situation where it doesn't always mesh. He told the Post about 17% of leaders believe Gen Z, who range in age from their teens to about 28, is often too difficult to manage, and 39% said they have poor communication skills. Jesson James, an international entrepreneur, business mentor, and speaker, said some Gen Zers struggle to articulate themselves, don't look you in the eye, and don't project their voices.
Some Gen Zers, yeah, that just sounds like they're autistic. That just sounds like an autistic person. But anyway, that said, them not projecting their voices. So projecting your voice is a skill that has to be learned. That's just a skill that has to be learned. Somebody says, I don't look people in the eye because I'm autistic. Yeah, I fucking called you out! Anyway, yeah, you've got people who are autistic and have not learned how to mask, and there is a conversation to be had about whether autistic people should be forced, or the degree to which they should be forced to mask in public. There's a degree to which everybody should have to mask. There's a degree to which our inner thoughts need to not be projected into outer thoughts all the time, and that is an okay expectation to have. I don't need to hear the screaming voices in your head, and you don't need to hear the screaming voices in mine, but there is a degree to which somebody who is autistic is basically encouraged to not be themselves. There's also a conversation to be had about trans people being told not to be themselves. But Matt Walsh is not going to have that conversation. He already made a whole fucking movie trying to disprove trans people's existence. Anyway, Sylvie says my own outer thoughts need to be more inner thoughts, to be honest. That's how it is for a lot of people. That said, yes, Gen Z has higher access to information than ever before. And because they have higher access to information, we have a couple of issues. So 30 or 40 years ago, people could reliably get something called a pension. If you worked for a company for a very long time, you could get a pension. This was effectively a retirement plan paid for by the company and invested into by you as you are operating in your time in the company. Now, the problem with this is that eventually companies stopped offering pensions as more workers' rights ended up getting stripped away from them, and more unions ended up being taken away from companies. More anti-union propaganda began being allowed and propagated in several different corporations. The idea of having a pension or a good retirement plan went away. And no, I'm not talking about a 401k. That's not a retirement plan. That is an investment package. That is not an actual retirement plan. The reason I say it's not a retirement plan is, you know what happens with your 401k the minute something like COVID hits? It all disappears. The stock market crashes, and once all of your money goes down to really, really low, the reinvestments don't necessarily build back up. 401ks are a good thing to supplement a retirement, but they are not a retirement plan. They are not guaranteed. They are not a thing that you can rely on. They are very bad at that. So, with that all said, if you are a Gen Z worker, you're getting into the workforce right now, what do you have to look forward to? A dead-end job that's not going to have its wages keep up with expenses, bosses that think that they can walk all over you all the time, and ultimately, most of the work out there right now does not pay a lot. You don't make enough to live. Most places in Georgia, for instance, do not pay enough to live. People have to room together with 3, 4, or 5 fucking friends in order to be able to survive. I am very lucky and privileged to be able to survive off of the one job that I have. But my situation is super unique. I don't have to pay rent. I have a mortgage. Mortgages are always lower than rent for some weird fucking reason. It's really, really lucky for me that I landed in the situation that I did. But not everybody is in that situation. Most people are having to deal with rent and these skyrocketing prices. It's not to say that I'm not dealing with those too. $600 power bill for some fucking reason. The country runs on entry-level work. More and more jobs are created that are entry-level, and there's fewer and fewer bits of skilled labor around. So if all of the stuff you have access to right out of college or even just right out of high school is stuff that will not pay you a living wage, does not offer a retirement plan, does not offer benefits until you've been there for a few years, really, what do you have to look forward to if your boss is being an asshole? Nothing. Yes, Gen Z people have access to more information, which means they know when they're getting a raw deal. Gatini says every job is a skilled job. So when I'm saying skilled labor, I'm meaning an area where you get to specialize in something and become an expert. Most labor is something right now, most labor that most people have access to when they get out of college is something that can be taught in a matter of minutes and then replicated over time. When I'm talking about skilled labor, I'm using an incorrect term. You are entirely correct there. But I'm meaning people who go into lawyering, people who go into being a doctor, people who go into these fields that are generally considered the chase fields, the ones that people really want to get into. Being an electrician, that's another good one, Fennec. These fields that are very, very sought after and end up teaching you a useful, transferable skill that you get to hold on forever, that becomes useful forever. People who work in construction, who get access to electrical knowledge, who get access to knowledge about plumbing, who get access to knowledge about building codes, all of that shit is very, very important and very, very helpful. But access to these jobs is getting smaller and smaller. And for a variety of reasons. There's plenty of construction firms right now that can barely afford to pay for their workers. And then we get this weird, strange position where they need to hire illegal immigrants in order to get work done because they often are cheaper, which says a lot about exploitation of that labor. But at the same time, they end up getting fined a fuck ton if they get caught using that labor. It's a whole messed up situation. So really, what does a Gen Z person have to look forward to in today's job force? Nothing. There's no guarantees. There's no, like it used to be, the idea that you were sold was that you would work for a company and stay at that company for 25 to 40 years. And at the end of that, you were rewarded with a nice retirement, health care for life, and the respect of your peers. That is something that you used to have. That has evaporated. Who the fuck has that? The only people that are guaranteed to get anything like that now are fucking police officers. And that's really shitty. People have to make their own retirement plans. They can't rely on pensions. People are having to work multiple jobs to make survival income. And when you have to work multiple jobs, that whole company loyalty thing that used to be part and parcel with that just kind of disappears entirely. And you might be able to get a lot of that with union work, but unions are evaporating in the United States because they are constantly fought against by fucking Republicans. It's horrible. It's a shitty system that we live in right now. So yeah, of course, Gen Z is kind of fucked when it comes to the labor market. They have access to the internet. They know all of this shit is bad. They know that, and they don't even need access to the internet for that. They can just go to the local grocery store and realize, if I'm getting paid, let's just do a thing real quick. Let's open up calculator. So if I go to the grocery store and my groceries cost me $270 a week, we'll multiply that by 4. By the way, that is the average household spending for a house that does not have children. It's $270 a week on groceries. Do you know how bonkers that is? When I got out of high school, I was making $900 a month. Do you know how fucking bonkers this world is to me? It sucks. I hate every time I walk into the grocery store. Anyway, so they realize, okay, I have to spend this much to get all of my necessities. Okay, that's really interesting. Let's see here. What's the average minimum wage? Let's just take Georgia's. Let's take $7.50. All right, I multiply that by 40 hours in the work week, and I multiply that by 4 work weeks, and I subtract my groceries, and I have $120 left. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, well, maybe I can shave it down. Maybe I can get very, very cheap things. Let's go ahead and get the loaf of bread, and let's go ahead and get the jar of peanut butter, and the jar of jelly. And, no, the jar of jelly went up in price. Okay, the jar of peanut butter went up in price. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the ramen noodles. That'll be $3 for that pack. Oh, nope, that went up in price as well. Let's add another $1 to that. Okay, God forbid, maybe I want something to drink other than tap water. Let's go ahead and get a few 2 liters. Let's get $6 worth of 2 liters, and let's go ahead and get some milk, which is going to be $5 for the gallon. Oh, I got milk. I guess I'll go ahead and get some cereal for the week, too. And now, do you see kind of what I've done here? Do you see what I've done? We're going to add $3 more, because that cereal went up as well. Now that I've lowered the cost of everything, I've also given you the world's most unhealthy fucking diet. Now you've got a diet of nothing but sugar and carbs. And you are desperately trying to operate off that. And I've probably lowballed most of these, right? I try not to look at the labels too much when I go to the grocery store anymore. I just tend to bend over when they're scanning my groceries at the end. You get a very fucking unhealthy diet at this point. So let's say, okay, cool, let's add a few things. Let's get some vegetables. Hell, I'll go ahead and put how much I spent on vegetables recently. Let's do about $4 for some bell peppers. Let's go ahead and get some cabbage. That costed me $5. Let's go ahead and get some bok choy that we can mix into that ramen. That costed me $4. I needed some onions. I spent about $10 in onions because I got 2 bags of onions. I use lots of onions. And at the very least, I've added some greenery to this, but I don't have any meat. I don't have any protein yet. Let's go ahead and add eggs to that. A dozen eggs is $5 in a bunch of areas right now. So I've got eggs for the week. I need a supplementary protein now that I can go ahead and use for breakfast. So let's go ahead and get some... sausage is probably one of the cheapest ones, but let's go with bologna. That's going to be the cheapest meat we can get. So let's get a few packets of bologna. It's going to be the Bar S ones. It's $5 to get 4 of those. And that's all the meat that I have. I'm going to add a couple more loaves of bread here because now I need to make sandwiches. Oh, well, I guess we need to get some condiments. Let's add $3 for some mustard. That's the only condiment we're allowed to have ever again. And I'm going to go ahead and add some potatoes onto this. Let's go ahead and pay $6 for a sack of Idaho and potatoes. Now we've at least got a more balanced diet, but to do that, I doubled the fucking cost. But it gets worse. It gets worse. So let's take that minimum wage that gave us $1,200 a month, and what's the average rent right now? Would anybody dare to look at what the average rent in the United States is for a one-bedroom apartment? Go ahead. Have fun with this one. And the average rent in the United States is $1,739. Fucking balls. What the fuck? $1,739. All right. Well, we haven't eaten yet. We're not going to the grocery store yet. We need to go ahead and pay for rent. Let's go ahead and subtract that $1,700 in rent, and now we have a $500 deficit. we have a $500 deficit. That is for a one-bedroom apartment. We have a $500 deficit. Who the fuck is supposed to survive here? Who the fuck is supposed to survive in this economy? Matt Walsh, I'm just sorry. Why should Gen Z give a flying fuck about the workforce right now when this is the state the workforce is in? This is the state that they're in right now. Who is supposed to survive in these conditions? Sylvie says only rich people can survive and thrive. Yeah, the entire system here is made to keep you poor and fuck you over. Speaking of which, you wanna subscribe to my Patreon? You wanna send money via Twitch donation or subscription or a PayPal donation or a channel membership? Preferably to the Magic the Gathering channel, so you actually get something out of it. Would you like to do that? That would be cool, because I like being able to live. Anyway, so now that we've looked and seen what Gen Z has to look forward to in the current economy, let's find out how they're failing, I guess.
They lack charisma and personality skills, he told the Post, adding, I don't feel that they are in tune with what it takes to impress others. Now, keep in mind, by the way, that many Zoomers, especially the younger half of that generation, have spent all day on their phones every day of their lives, practically since birth. Most of their communication and engagement with the outside world has been facilitated by the phone. So it's no wonder that they struggle to relate and engage in person. You don't need to have personality skills.
So, Matt, this may surprise you. I agree. I actually agree. This right here, this one, I actually wholeheartedly agree with. We actually do atomize ourselves horribly in society right now. The suburbanization project for the United States has seen to it that has happened. So, yeah, it sounds really, really shitty, but I agree with Matt here. People do not learn how to socialize properly. They don't. Let's see if he continues being a broken clock, though.
On your phone.
Bernea says, but if you're a teenager, there's no place to hang out. Yeah, that is kind of the other issue. So yes, the phone raising you is a huge fucking problem, but we actually... and this has to do with the suburbanization project. When we suburbanized everything, when we atomized everything, we took away meeting places. We took away true town squares. We eliminated all of that shit. So I agree with what Matt is saying, but the culprit is not the phone. The phone is one of the culprits. It is not the culprit. Our current industry that is built to suburbanize places instead of building cities, that is the culprit. Because if you're in a city, an actual true blue city, you have plenty of places to go hang out. But there's another problem. The only places that are left to hang out right now, for most people, take money. They take money. I know I mentioned places that are fun to hang out in, and one of them is a card shop, but I learned something while I was in New York. In New York City, there is a card shop, which I will not name, that asks you $10 to sit down at a table. Also, an anonymous gifter has just gifted out 7 subs. Holy fucking shit. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. And this card shop, which I will not name, but if you're in New York, you probably know what I'm talking about because you've probably gone to this store before. I was taken aback because the shop wanted me to spend $10 just to sit down. Sakura, thank you for the 100 bits. Senna, thank you for the 100 bits. I didn't realize I was going to be getting a hype train right now talking about finances. Anyway, it floored me. Now, at the very least in New York City, there are options. Saki and I were able to walk to other card shops whenever we wanted to, anywhere we were in New York City. So while I was not happy about that, at least there were other places to go. But if you are in a different area, right? In my area, there is one card shop that asks you $5 to sit down. You are not allowed to hang out in the store if you don't pay money to the store. So every single kid who's growing up, who would grow up in the card shop, now has to spend money just to exist there. And that's not really a good thing. Kids growing up in card shops, learning how to talk to people, how to hang around people, how to socialize. That's how I learned how to talk to people. That's how I learned how to function. Hanging out shouldn't cost money, but it does cost money depending on where you go, and we are slowly eliminating every place where people can hang out without spending fucking money. Even some of the places in the United States that were the best places for kids to hang out, the malls, used to be places that you could hang out for free at. You could hang out in the food court, and you could just get free samples while walking around. And while that may seem a little skeezy, it was a way to feed yourself and just operate while hanging out with your friends. You'd go ahead and bring a paper cup, go into the bathrooms, pour yourself some water, get some free samples at the different areas. You've had a snack, you've had a drink, and you are here hanging out with your friends over on a weekend. That's a perfectly viable thing to do. I used to do it all the time when I was growing up, but even malls are disappearing. And again, because of the suburbanization project, malls are not just disappearing. It was the only places that we had to go. So how the fuck were kids supposed to get there in the first place? If everything is suburbanized, if everything is atomized away from each other, you're in this one neighborhood that is 3 miles away from the retail district, how are you supposed to even fucking get there in the first place? So yes, Matt, I agree with you 110%. The phone should not be raising the kids. However, there's far more to talk about and far more things that have been fucked up by big money that have led to this.
You don't need to have a personality at all, really, when you're on social media. You're constructing, an image that is maybe bears no resemblance really to your real personality. So you cannot give your child a phone, invite them to spend every waking hour of their day staring at the phone, and then scratch your head and wonder why they grew into adults with no social skills or personalities. It's inevitable.
No, the phone is not the inevitable piece of technology that causes that to happen. Urban planning and its failures have done just as much damage, if not more.
We'll return to that point in a moment. Reading on, quote, James has seen what he calls snowflakeism, some Gen Zers crumbling under even a little pressure. It's almost like you have to walk on eggshells around them, being super sensitive when managing them in case you offend them, upset them, or push them too far, he said.
Maybe don't be an asshole. That'd be my first thing. Maybe don't be an asshole. My second thing would be, this is also a product of urban planning. If peers are not allowed to hang around each other, which inevitably this planning project does yield that, the ability to deal with conflict disappears. If you are not in a mixed group of friends for a lot of time, your ability to figure out how to handle disagreements, conflict, problem resolution kind of goes away. There's very few places that kids have access to this shit anymore. Public schools is one of these places that they have access to still. But there are Republicans that are trying to remove that too as an option for people.
Some 20-somethings have even brought a parent with them to job interviews for support. Corporate environments and office culture have relaxed in recent years when noted and are viewed differently between generations. But even with a more laid-back office environment, recent college grads don't dress professionally and don't use appropriate language for work. 19% of those surveyed said. About 20% of respondents said Gen Zers are often late to work. 15% said they frequently hand assignments in late. The younger generation is also more likely to use up their sick days than their older colleagues, recent studies have found.
is it? It's almost as if you are a Gen Zer and you have access to a thing, you use it. Not using your sick days is one of these really, really weird social cues that I've seen conservatives use as a red flag for people. Oh, you used up all your sick days? That's my cue that you're a bad worker with really, really bad work ethic. Like, no, that's the sign I'm fucking tired. Hype train finished at level 2. Thank you all very much. That's the sign that I'm tired, my guy. It's not the sign that I'm a bad worker. It's the sign that when I'm getting paid to work, I'm doing what I can, but after busting my ass, I don't have anything else to fucking give. That's what that's a sign of.
Side note on the sick day thing is and you know, this will be unpopular, especially with younger people, but you shouldn't be using sick days, okay? I've used sick days.
What? You shouldn't... Matt, my guy. Just real quick. Why the fuck have the sick days if we're not supposed to use them? Why are they there if not for use?
Maybe twice in 7 years. And in both of those cases, because I lost my voice and I couldn't speak, you know, you can't blame me for that.
Matt, your job is sitting behind a desk and just saying bullshit that comes to your mind. I know what your job is because I do your fucking job. And yeah, it's been easier to do my job when sick sometimes. It has been way easier to do it than going in when I was working at Publix or Quick Trip or Aldi. It was way easier dealing with going to work sick here. But I had the flexibility to say, no, I'm not going to do stuff. You don't work a real fucking job, Matt. You sit behind a desk and talk. I don't work a real fucking job by the same standard. I can judge you by this standard because I'm throwing stones from my glass house.
For that, it's impossible to do a podcast when you can't speak. And even then, anyone...
Have you considered that it's impossible to work when you're really fucking sick? Have you considered it's impossible to work when you're, like, dying under fever? Who the fuck are you?
Has been watching the show for a while. You know this. I still came into the office and recorded a video with subtitles when I lost my voice, if you recall. But generally speaking...
I really hate this idea that going to work sick is some sign that you're a wonderful person. It's the Morton says, fun fact, it's somebody's job to do the boob physics. Yes, it's Suzu Sawara's job. They were the ones that did the boob physics.
Again, I know this is unpopular, but sick days are for children, okay? They're for kids in school who are trying to stay home so they don't have to take a test that day. Like, with rare exception...
I think, no, sick days are for when people get sick, dumb fuck.
Taking a sick day as an adult should be pretty embarrassing for you.
Why should it be embarrassing? If I have COVID and I go to work with other people and I spread COVID to them and somebody who is immunocompromised gets COVID and they die as a result of that, why is that an okay fucking thing? If I had to go to the hospital for a surgery and take a sick day for that, why is that not an okay fucking thing? Why is it not okay if I'm having a fever and I will be working at only 15% capacity because I can barely fucking think? Why should I be coming into work at that point? No, if you're sick, don't come to fucking work and don't give me your fucking germs.
Calling your boss and saying, sorry, I can't come in today, my tummy hurts.
Yeah, okay, Matt. If my stomach hurts, do you know what that means? It means I'm going to be spending 75% of my day, 75% of my day on the fucking toilet. And if you want to pay me to shit on company time, by all means. But if I want to take a sick day so that I am not inconveniencing everybody else in the workforce, I'm going to fucking do that. That's what I'm going to do. Far be it from me to want to actually take a shit on my own toilet and stay on there for 2 to 3 hours if that's what my stomach needs me to do.
Is humiliating. You need to be at work, okay? Adults don't have time to be sick.
Yes, they do. It's called sick days, you dumbass. That's the actual time to be sick. That's the time to be sick, you fucking idiot.
But you see, we don't have time for it. That's. I was just having this conversation with my kids recently, actually, because
then you're a fucking abusive parent.
I was kind of under the weather, and my kids were aware of that, and they said, "Well, so why are you going to work?" I said, "Because I don't have time to be sick." Okay, I don't know. I can't be. I don't have to.
Yes, you can, Matt. Yes, you fucking can. Hold on. Yes, you can. You want to know why Matt Walsh can afford to not go to work? You can, Matt. You can. Your fucking net worth, you goddamn liar, is $5 million. Matt, do you know that the person who is ran down and sick is barely able to afford a doctor's visit? Meanwhile, you are an actual fucking millionaire? You realize that, right? You realize that. Matt, workers in actual jobs have far stricter parameters set on them than what you have. My guy. People who make, and again, let's go ahead and go to the minimum wage, because there's plenty of people who still make fucking minimum wage for some reason, because our country is backwards as shit. We make that minimum wage times 40 times 52, $15,000 to make your net worth. Matt, do you know how many people it fucking takes? Do you know how many people it takes? Here. Let's go ahead and figure it out. It takes 330 fucking people to make up your net worth. Who the fuck are you to tell those people who barely make breadcrumbs that they need to be going in and working because you're going in and working? Stupid fucking moron. Stargazer Lee says, that well-off prick saying he can't afford to be sick. Bitch, my mother couldn't afford to be sick when she was a single parent. Yeah, you can afford to be sick. You're worth millions of goddamn dollars. Adults who make barely enough to survive, they can't afford to be sick. And you know what's there for them? Sick days. To pay them to take time off because they can't afford to be sick.
But you are sick, yeah, but I don't have time for it. So it's like,
Yeah, this isn't a fucking thing for you to be proud of, my guy. This is just an example of you being an idiot.
Operating as though I'm not. Finishing up the article, quote, but many bosses are trying to tame the immature hires, even mandating office etiquette training. 54% of the company leaders surveyed said they offer the training, and many mandate it for new hires, and a quarter of them specifically require it for Gen Z recruits. So the fundamental problem for Gen Zers in the workplace is that many of them, not all, but many, have never really been introduced to, and this is really what it comes down to, they've never been introduced to a concept called obligation.
Yes, they have. They have been introduced to a concept called obligation. But if a job has an obligation to its worker, its obligation is to treat the worker well. And if idiots like you are saying, you don't have time to be sick, then I'm assuming that your idea of a good job is one that doesn't fulfill the obligations to its workers. If the job does not fulfill its obligations to the workers, then the workers are not obliged to do shit. They can just stay home. And you can't go, well, no, the only obligation the job has is to pay you. Bull fucking shit. If I stay home from work and I've used up my sick days, the job is not paying me anything anymore. Unless I'm on salary. They're not paying me jack shit, my guy. So guess what? I am not going to work and they are not paying me. So what other obligations are there to fucking worry about? Oh, right. Treating me like a goddamn human being. Those are the obligations
otherwise known as responsibilities or duties. Man, have you heard of Rose Sparks? This dual action prescription.
Oh, we're just cutting it out to an ad. It's the Morton. Thank you for the follow. How about instead, and fuck you, no ad for you, Matt. How about instead, you go to ddlgplayground.com. You use coupon code Suris. You get yourself a nice, thick, long dilder, and you shove it right up your ass. Right up the ass. If you're gonna plug, I'm gonna plug. But I can't take any more of this. I literally cannot take any more Matt Walsh here. Basically trying to say, no, you don't have time to be sick. Matt, you're worth $5 million. Shut the fuck up. Go to my coupon code. You get 20% off when you use my coupon code. Get something. You know what? DDLG Playground also sells diapers. And I know for a fact, Matt, you wear them. Because you sell that fucking baby Walsh doll. Insert end video tagline here. Hey, just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who help keep me afloat and help keep this channel going. YouTube and Twitch are wonderful platforms, but at the end of the day, stability is not one of their strong suits. If you want to support my channel, then obviously Patreon is one of the best ways of doing that. Link is in the description. But I do want to personally thank everybody who has contributed to the channel. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Autumn and Angel, Nixie Chan, Agamotto, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. And everyone else who supports my channel and lets me do what I do full time. This is a dream job of mine that I never believed that I would be able to take full time, and with your help, I've been able to do it. So thank you so very much for that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all are having a wonderful time. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully.